Hey guys, so we're going to go ahead and read a story today. Let me go ahead and pull it up for you. This story is called City Mouse and Country Mouse. All right. So, when we're reading this story, we want to think about what is it like to live in the city? How is it different from living in the country? All right. So, once upon a time, there was a happy little mouse that lived in the country. Remember, a country is an open land that is not built up. All right, so there's farms and fields. Those are things that could be in the country. So I want you to think to yourself, what are some things, or what do you think it would be like in the country? Do you think it would be noisy or quiet? So take a second to think about that. Would the country be noisy or quiet? You said quiet. You're right, because there's not really a lot going on in the country. One summer, she invited her cousin from the city to come visit her. Again, a city is a large town where many people live. So, if you're thinking about the city, it's going to be a lot louder than the country. All right? The city has a lot of things. Like the city of Pittsburgh, it has a bunch of buildings, and there's always people moving around and doing things. So, it's a lot noisier than the country. When her city cousin arrived, she tried to show him how pleasant and relaxing life in the country could be. They sat on the porch and looked at the stars as they listened to the crickets chirping. They nibbled on delicious country food, such as breadcrumbs, cheese, bits, nuts, and berries. All right, let's go and switch to the next one. So a good reader, real quick, before we start reading, we kind of look at the picture and we kind of think, what do you think might go on? So I want you to look at this picture and think, what do you think is kind of going on? What do you think they're going to be talking about? And as you sit there and think, you see the picture of both of them, and it looks like some types of food. So let's see what happens. Are you enjoying country life, dear cousin? The country mouse asked. But the city mouse was not impressed at all with country life. He missed the sounds of taxis and buses. He missed the shops and people walking in the busy streets. In fact, he was quite bored. Bored is when you are not interested in something. So what kind of things might you feel bored? Like when you're doing some things, like what is boring to you? Or what things might make you feel bored? So take a second and think about that. So when I'm thinking about when I'm bored, it's just things that don't interest me. So if I'm sitting there and I'm watching a TV show that I, don't really care about, or not that I don't care about, it's just I'm not really interested in, I'm going to be bored. He replied to his cousin, "You poor thing. Life in the country is much too quiet, and the food is so plain. Dear cousin, come back to the city with me, and I will show you how wonderful life can be. The food in the city is fancy and delicious, unlike any that you have ever tasted." So they were talking about that food and kind of seeing, this is what I have in the city. All right, let's go ahead and see what there's some of the things. Again, a good reader looks at the pictures and kind of visualizes, like we talked about, what exactly they think is going to happen in the story. There's all kinds of delicious food there. The country mouse wanted to see whether her cousin's life in the city was as grand as he described. So she went back to the city with him. When they arrived, the country mouse was surprised. Remember, surprise is like, oh, at how noisy the city was. Cars were honking their horns, and there were so many people. She was happy when they went inside a large brick house. The city mouse led the way to the dining room, where the people of the house had already finished eating dinner. There were many wonderful things to eat, still sitting on the table. "What a feast!" exclaimed the country mouse. Her eyes grew big and round as she gazed at the chicken, potato salad, rich cheeses, strawberries, jellies, and chocolate cake. The country mouse began to think her cousin was right, and perhaps she should move to the city. real quick backtrack when they talk about a feast. A feast is a big meal that has been made like for a special holiday, a special event. All right. So those were some of the types of food that they had in their feast. They had chicken, potato salads, rich cheeses, strawberries, jellies, chocolate cake. I want you to take a second and think, what kind of feast do you have on holidays or special events? So the country mouse began to think her cousin was right, and perhaps she should move to the city. But just as the two were about to eat, a huge cat pounced on the table. So the huge cat jumped on the table. So looking at this picture, where do you think they went? You see on the outside, on the outside of that hole, they see the cat. So maybe they went into their house, so they want to get caught. "Let's go!" cried the city mouse as the two mice scurried into the mouse hole. Scurried is when you move or run very quickly. All right, they're hurrying. All right, so think about, have you ever scurried? And then think about what made you scurry and where were you going when you scurried? "That big cat lives here," explained the city mouse to the trembling country mouse. "We will have to hide here for a while, but we can go back and eat later after he's gone." But the country mouse shook her head and she said, "As soon as that cat is gone, I'm going home as fast as I can. You are welcome to all the fancy food you can eat. As for me, I think it's better to eat simple food in peace and safety." And the country mouse went back to her simple life in the country and lived happily and peacefully ever after. The end. So thinking about this, we want to think, what happened from the beginning to the end. So we talked about the two mice. There was a country mouse and then there was a city mouse. So they both got to see each other's lives and what it was like. And in the end, we found out that the country mouse was like, "Ooh, I think I'm going to go back home. I think I like my ways and you like your ways." And that's okay to have separate ways and separate likings of certain things. So awesome story today. I will see you guys later.